What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Y'all just kicking it for a minute, right? We doing something, for the podcast, you feel me? So, what we're talking about today is colleges, right? Colleges is being a ripoff. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because, it's talked about a lot about colleges being a ripoff, and about you go to college for so long, and at the end of the day, all you really stuck with is a bill. You know what I'm saying? Like, you stuck with a bill, and then it's like, you got $60,000 or $50,000 in debt. Straight up. And then for a degree that you may use 2 years or 3 years or whatever. At least I know for me, when I got my degree so many years ago, I did use my degree, but I only used it for 3 years, And I just think that it's such a ripoff, And I see that it's being talked about a lot more on social media about colleges being a ripoff, but I think it should be talked about more. It's like, damn. So we work, we go to college all this time, we get these student loans piled up. Them checks be looking good. I know when I used to get them I was getting buku checks, you know what I mean? So, get these checks while we in schools, paying for our schools, getting them. And then when we graduate from college, or when we get that degree, it's like, we use the degree, and then by the time we ready to use the degree, sometimes it's not, we can't use it, or it's always an excuse, or it's always so. It's always so. Do you remember like back then when it was like, they used to tell you, go to school. Like your parents pushed on your head. Go to school, go to college, right? Get that bachelor's degree. And then when everybody started getting bachelor's degrees, all of a sudden, it ain't nothing no more. It's nothing. That's crazy. And I don't think it's talked about enough. I think they pushing so much other stuff out with AI and all this other fake stuff that they push out on the internet. People not even talking about it as much as they should be. For real. Here on this podcast channel, anything that I pump out, that we push out into the universe, into the world, we want to educate. That's the goal, to educate and to teach somebody, or, tell some people like something different than what's going on. Because everybody's following the latest trends, or, it's always whatever's new that's out. Everybody's following all the latest stuff, and blah, 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 blah. And all that, right? But, damn, nobody is like talking about the real problem. And that's why, even when I be seeing stuff that's online on the internet, I tend to follow stuff and it's talking about real issues, like stuff like this. But I don't want to see all the time about the latest scandal, or the latest trend that's going on with social media and all that. I don't want to see that. Straight up. Tell me something, dude. Tell me something that I can utilize. That's all I want to see. Tell me something that I can utilize. Something that I can utilize. For real. And that's why I think, me talking about this college thing I think it's beneficial because it's so many kids, not to mention even my children, that's older and they in college now. going through that same cycle, getting in debt, to go work for somebody, to go paying student loans. Damn. It's a never-ending rat race, like recidivism. You know, it's like, just like recidivism, only in the real legal world. You know, it's a never-ending rat race like recidivism. Straight up. Yeah, like, man, it's just so much, because I remember, man, like, I was so happy to go to college because it was what I wanted to do. You know, it's what I wanted to do. At one point, I wanted to go to the Army, but then I realized I don't like taking orders. You know what I'm saying? I don't like taking orders from people. So the Army was out of the question for me. But I know college ain't for everybody, but for me it was at that time. Even a little bit of education. Something. You know, and that's why I went to college. Even if it's just a little bit of education. And that's what I did. And I said, they said, okay, you go here, you get your certificate, and then you're certified to get a job over here. And for me, it was social work. You know, I would actually, my first profession was a school teacher. But I changed careers. I said, I like helping people. So that's why I chose social work. So I went to school to do social work, which took me 10 years off and on going to school to do social work. 10 years. Only because I got married, had children, running here and there, it's just life. You know what I'm saying? So when I finally got my degree and started my career in social work, now I'm $60,000 in debt. You know, and now I'm a youth counselor. I got a degree saying that I'm a youth counselor, and I'm gonna be a social worker and I'm gonna counsel these adolescent teenagers at a youth facility because I'm certified. But also I owe $60,000. You know, so, but I mean, come on now. I told myself I do plan on using my degree again. Maybe not right now at this present time, but I do plan on using it again. But I just think that, you know, it's just I don't know. Honestly, I'm like other countries. Like they say Canada has free. What was it? Canada that has a free the healthcare, the school, maybe healthcare. You know, places like I think it's also Cuba. Cuba has free healthcare. You know, like that stuff will be free, just like water, or just like electricity or oil, all the stuff that comes from the earth. Education should be free. That's why I really don't support places anymore that, you know, when you have to go somewhere to learn education and you have to pay for it, because any type of education, information is free. Just like I'm giving you this free game, information is supposed to be free. The fact that people charging you know, it's like, that's that communism stuff. I hate that. For real. Yeah. It's always about the dollar, always about the money. But like I said, we strive to be different. We seek to be different out here. For real. And you will see. You may not see it today, you may not see it tomorrow, but you will see it one day. Yeah. Yeah, and it just, like I said, There's so much stuff out here. Man, I want to speak on that because for so long, because this, especially the way this world is going, and the way this universe is starting to shape in certain parts of the world, like it's so much bull going on out here. It's like, when is it going to end? Straight up. You don't know who to trust, who to talk to. Everybody has a motive. It's always something. Everybody has a motive. Yeah, it's true. At least that's my philosophy. Everybody has a motive. You don't know who to trust out here. People hit you up. If they hit you up on social media, it's always something. It's always an ulterior motive. They're never genuine, like they are. They always want to there's always a hidden agenda. That's why I like when people try to follow me on social media, just out of the blue. People that I knew from 20 years ago, I blocked them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always a motive. I'm not trying to go off subject, but sometimes I'll be rambling. But yeah, it's always something, nowadays, man. Straight up. Everybody out for $1. For real. My own parents taught me that you can't trust anybody. If your own parents can rip you off, anybody will. I wish I would have knew college was a scam when I first started. Not knowing that I really didn't need the education like I thought I did. Because it's really not what you know, it's who you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Seriously. They told us that a long time ago. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah. And that's another reason why I'm doing this broadcast right now. Yeah. For my children to see this, the ones that's older, or even the ones that's younger, to my 7-year-old, to my 20-year-old. They'll see this and they'll be like, hey, look at Dad talking that shit. Sorry. Yeah, it's true. Not to discourage people from education, but it's just the system. The system in certain parts of the world. Yeah, it's all screwed up. It's all screwed up, It's all screwed up. But hey, like I said, man, I try my best to educate when I can. I try my best to educate when I can. Another thing I want to talk about is this being more like I think like even with this podcast, the fact that everybody's doing podcasts, which we did this years ago, right? When we started in 2022. In my opinion, by me being a therapist, podcast is really just like therapy, if you think about it. It's just like therapy. Because most people that come on podcasts, they talk to vent, to talk about their life, to open up. You got people that squash beef on podcasts. You got people that come on podcasts just to bury the hatchet, on a podcast. You know, so that's therapy. It's therapy. It's a place to vent. You know, it's another reason why we started this podcast a few years ago. You know, because that's one reason. Because it's a good way to vent. It's venting. It's getting your emotions out and let everything be in the air. You know, for some people that don't like to go to counseling or therapy because they think it's too quote unquote weak, which is another false narrative. Just do a podcast. If you got a problem with somebody or you got something you want to say to somebody, the best way to say it to them is on podcast. But then you got some people out there that they scared of what other people gonna say or what other people gonna think. So maybe they don't want to do it. You know. Just don't be afraid. That's my motto. Don't be afraid don't be afraid. Just get on it and just talk. You know. I think that, in my opinion, and that's why I invited a few people on, you know, they neglected to give back to me. You know, but I did invite a few people on. People that I had problems with in the past, maybe 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago. People I haven't seen in years. Some people I've seen as recently as 2 years ago. I invited people on. You know, maybe they private, maybe they just don't want to come on. But I do think, well, some of them did, you know, some of them did. Yeah, we got a few people on the show that we interviewed, you know. But, and that's cool, so we buried the hatchet. But I do think that it's a good way to vent. You know, I think that it will help. You understand? It will definitely help. For real. You know, because that stuff, you go on and on and on and on and on. If you know you have a problem with somebody, whether it's 20 years ago, whether it's 10 years ago, and then that stuff will sit your brain like a cancer if you don't let it vent out. For me, anybody I have a problem with, I pray to Allah and I wash my hands with it. I promise you. If I didn't tell them personally, hey, I don't have an issue with you. I don't have a problem with you. We're good. You know, if I told them to their face, on the phone, on the social media, on a podcast, however I told them. You get it? Yeah. Because you have to, if you want to see a brighter future or a different future, a different light, a different life, yeah, you have to let go of the past. You know, you have to, anything that's holding you back, or anything, any type of guilt, any type of guilt, whether it's an ex-wife, family members, or ex-relatives, or anybody that you have any type of negativity or animosity with, you have to learn to let go. Yeah. That's why, like for me, I've learned to do that. I've learned to do that through therapy. Whether it was me going to therapy and talk to somebody or whatever, or visit on a channel, on a podcast channel. You have to learn how to do that. If you don't, that stuff gonna eat you up like a cancer. I'm telling you. You can say, oh, I just don't care, oh, I'm not worried about them, and blah, 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 blah. But in the back of your mind, you are. Because every time, if I go around you and you negative, you talk negative, or you make sad comments, I know you still have a problem. You still got a problem. If I come around you and I don't see you for 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, and you talk side comments or you talk negative or it's always a down talk, then I know there's still a problem in the back of your mind. Even if you make a comment in a joking manner, you know, you can laugh out like, ha 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 ha. Those are jokes. It's not. That's your inner conscience. But you don't know how to let it out because you don't want to be a hater. So you'll just slick it out. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's crazy. Yeah, let it out, let it vent. Anybody that probably knew me from the past, and some people that know me now, to my wife, my current wife, know that I'm a realist. You know, so I'm gonna speak my mind, I'm gonna tell you what I think. I may not be as blunt, but, well, let me take that back. I may not be as blunt as I was before, as I used to be. Yeah. You know, so I may sugarcoat it a little bit and try to be as delicate as I can. You know, and that's just me being the person that I am today, or have been for the past 15 years. You know, so. But yeah, man, I just think that people just need to, you know, people need to think, people need to learn to let go. Learn to let go. You know, learn to let go. You have to. You know, if you got an issue with somebody, let's talk about it. You know. I may be black, educated, and petty, but I'm not today. I'm nice, like the shirt said. Be nice. I'm nice. You know, seriously. For real. But yeah, man. Therapy. Everybody needs it. Don't say you don't need therapy or that's soft, that's weak. That's nothing. Stop being in denial. You're in denial. Seriously though. Not to be joking, but I'm trying to be. Yeah, everybody needs it, man. Everybody needs it. Yeah. Seriously. So, like I said, I invited a few people on. All you gotta do is hit me. You might not have my personal number, but you see me. Y'all see me online. Hit me online. Hit me on one of my DMs. Whatever social media site that you follow me on, that you follow us on, hit me on the DM. I may get with you. I probably will. You understand? I'm not for no BS though. I'm not for no negativity. I'm for moving forward. Yeah. Really think about that, man. You know, it's the truth. So, yeah, man, we just want to talk about that, man. You know, the two things we want to talk about, but, man, we gotta do better, baby. Gotta do better, man, for real. It's a crazy world we in, man, right now, man. It's a tough time. A lot of crazy stuff going on, man, with war and everything else. I mean, yeah, man. You know, you see the news. You watch the social media like I watch social media. You see what's going on, man. It's a crazy world we live in, man. You don't know who to trust. Everybody out for everybody. You know, I'm just trying to hold on to me and my family. And you should do the same. You should do the same. Yeah. Can we all just get along? All right, y'all. It's me signing off. Peace.